On today's episode, we'll talk about what dancing and operating have in common, landing your first big feature, Stranger Things, Fear Street, and of course, ditching high school to watch classic movies. Just a little bit of business before we start. There may be a curse word here or there in this episode, so please listen responsibly. As always, our website, theop.io, is up and chock full of tips, tricks, and gooey operator goodness. Make sure to check out The Breakdown, where the best operators in the biz explain shots they have done, The Musings, where we discuss everything from quick tips to larger concepts of storytelling, the answers, the images, and so much more. I may or I may not take a break or two during this episode, but I promise that none of them will be longer than 22 seconds. Finally, if you are enjoying the podcast, please follow us, write a review, share us with your parents, and talk us up around the water cooler with your friends. So grab a beverage, sit back, and enjoy the op. Thanks for listening.
Lock it up, nice and quiet, and let's roll.
Rolling. Victor 30 Echo, take 2.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark.
And camera set. And action.
Hello and welcome back to the Op Podcast, the podcast where we talk about operating and the art of visual storytelling. I am Dave Comides, and I'm coming to you from the home of today's guest, Mr. Nick Müller, here in Atlanta. Nick is a great A-camera Steadicam operator who has done some amazing work on things such as Stranger Things, season 4 and 5, which I think 5 is about to come out, Fear Streets, parts 1 through 3, 3 movies sort of all shot together, I guess. The movie Old, Fall, Agatha All Along, and an incredible movie that I don't think enough people saw, The Boston Strangler, shot by Ben Cutchins, for which he and A-camera operator Ari Isler, Nick was B-camera Steadicam on that, were nominated for the 2024 SOC Operator of the Year Award and did some outstanding work. You should see that if you haven't seen it. Nick, thanks for having me over.
Yeah, thanks for coming over.
Yeah, this is cool. And Nick's dog is sitting at his feet right now.
Django's right here. So if you hear some dog panting, that's what that's
That's
coming
one of
from.
us or Django.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's your story? How'd you become an operator on Stranger Things?
Oh yeah.
How'd you get there?
Yeah. I grew up in LA and I didn't know anyone in the film industry, but it was something that I eagerly wanted to be a part of.
Yeah.
And in high school, I had a friend of mine, Alex McCott, who's an assistant now in Louisiana. His father, Julio McCott, is a cinematographer, and
Oh, I think I know Alex then because I've met Julio's kids. I
Yeah.
worked with Julio for a while.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And his
yeah.
older brother is Max?
Max.
Max? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's
yeah.
three brothers.
Yeah.
And they all work in the film industry as assistants. Max is now operating as well. But yeah, so I was with Alex. We were good friends in high school, and he said, my dad's a DP, and I was like, dude, how come you haven't told me? Like we've been hanging out for like a year talking about how this film thing, and he's like, yeah, it's not something I really want to talk about, whatever.
I guess, yeah.
And so he's like, but you're really into it, and he's shooting this thing. We should go visit. And so he was shooting this movie. And I'll never forget, it was the first time I ever stepped onto a set and seeing these massive 18Ks blowing through all the windows.
Back in the day. I missed
it was
that.
Film,
What movie was it?
I could get the title wrong. I think it's Our Family Wedding.
Okay.
But
Some like comedy.
it was a comedy.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Shot on film. I think they had 535
Nice.
on there, and
That's great.
he was super kind. He had me sit down on the dolly, and it was a geared head, and he's like, all right, push him to 2, and he's like, let's see what you can do.
That's
And
totally
I had no idea what I was doing, and I'm like, this is a whole like subculture of people that are working underground, and everyone has these specialties, and I immediately fell in love with it, and that just kind of
great.
confirmed my love for it. So
what are you, like 15, 16?
yeah, 15,
Yeah.
16.
That's so cool. And
Yeah.
and like, but other than like reading articles and whatnot, like, did you have any idea how this worked or what it was like or?
I had been reading, I think I had read like the ASC book.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I was just like trying to like piece together what I could, because I didn't know anyone. My family didn't know anyone in the industry. And I was just kind of scratching at the door, like, let me in, like
Yeah.
as somebody, I got to know
Totally.
somebody.
How cool.
And then, and then one of my good friends dad was, Julio Macat, ASC. He was a
But
huge
yeah, and it's
DP,
not only like he's a DP, but he's done big things. He's got a
huge
name,
things.
and yeah.
Yeah, Home
That's yeah.
Alone
I mean, right
and
there, right? Yeah, all sorts of stuff. I did.
Knocked Up.
Yeah, I did Wedding Crashers with him,
Yeah,
and I did some other. I did one or two other movies with him, and I can't remember what they were. That's great.
yeah. So he's awesome, and he was so open to bringing people into the industry, which I thought was really cool. That
Totally.
there, I thought that there would have been this kind of gatekeeping sort of
Yeah.
vibe going on, but
Which there
he
was,
was
but by then I think it had gone away. And also, Julio's like the nicest person in
he
the
was
world.
he
Yeah.
was
I mean, I guarantee you that he probably had a huge smile on his face and he probably turned to you and went, "Hey, brother, why don't you come over and sit on the dolly?" And
Yeah, that's exactly what he sounded like.
it's
That's
exactly
crazy.
Julio. He's the nice, he's like, can't imagine. The only time I can imagine Julio without a smile on his face is like when we're trying to figure something out. He's got this sort of like pseudo smile, but he's just
Yeah.
the nicest person. That's
Yeah.
great. How
Yeah.
cool.
So that was my first introduction to the film world, stepping onto his set and immediately fell in love. And I was like, I just gotta do this
Yeah.
thing. So I started camera PAing where I could, all non-union,
But
Craigslist
how'd you get like,
stuff.
oh, so Craigslist? You just looked on
Yeah,
Craigslist?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Just like, trying to get on anything that I could. I think I made friends with the loader on that show, and he hooked me up with some people, and I just started kind of camera PAing on non-union, very, very low budget stuff. And
Nice.
then
Yeah.
and then I was just hitting Craigslist every day, just, hungry to get on anything that I could. And I started second day seeing for a first assistant that I had met. We had done a couple movies together, um, and then I remember watching Steadicam operators and seeing this movement throughout the set. And I come from a dance background, so I was kind of analyzing it from a dance perspective, and
Oh, wow.
um, some of the operators on the low budget stuff, they were running into walls and clipping
Yeah.
doorways and
Like 10 years earlier, I would have been one of those people.
um, and so I was like, oh man, like if he just did a potty beret through that doorway and he's able to go sideways at a 45-degree angle, he's not going to clip
Cool.
that wall. Or if he does, if he's able to map out his steps, he's not going to, you know,
Yeah.
run into this or overshoot that mark. Or And so
Wow.
I was just kind of thinking, man, like if you could just combine dance with Steadicam, I feel like that would go really well. So I was immediately hooked on, I have to do this thing because I
That's really
wanted to
cool.
operate, but that I was too young, no one trusted me.
Mhm.
And then I felt like Steadicam would have been a great avenue for me to get into the operating world. Um,
Backing up for a sec, you say you have a
yes.
dance background. Like, so did you take lessons when you were a kid? Or, I mean, what does that mean?
My mom's a choreographer, and I grew up in a dance school.
Oh,
So
surrounded by it. All
so
right.
she taught at a dance school, and they were like, we can't afford to put you in sports, but you got to do something. So go dance with your mom because it's free, and we can do that. So go dance with her. I immediately was like, okay, well, I want to tap dance, but I don't really want to do anything else. And they're like, well, if you tap, you have to do ballet, you have to do jazz, you have to do all the other stuff.
Oh, so
And
you're
so
I mean, this is serious.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the
Wow.
school that she taught at was a Russian classical ballet school with hardcore ballet teachers.
Wow.
And as soon as I showed up, I think I was 6 years old at the time, a 6-year-old male, they were just like, we gotta just put our claws on this guy and like,
And form him.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I grew up in that environment,
Wow.
dancing, I'd say 4 to 6 hours every single day.
So you have like when you're going through a doorway, like you were saying, you have a totally different mentality going in than I do, which is just like I gotta not hit
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I grew up with that school, and I did it professionally for a while. Right out of high school, um I was assisting, I was second assisting at the time, and then it would get slow around wintertime. I would go hop on a cruise ship and, go hang out in Mexico for 6 months, 4 months,
Meaning like
dancing on a cruise ship.
but meaning like you're teaching people to dance? Like,
No. I would be part of the cast of the
oh,
show
I see what you're
on the
saying.
ship, and
Oh,
yeah, and so I would just I'm like this is a great gig.
that's
I'm able
awesome.
to save some money
Right.
because I'm not making any money
Yeah, yeah,
at
yeah.
home, so, and I don't have to pay rent. I don't have to pay for food,
Jeez, and I'm
and
going to Mexico.
yeah, so I would go to Mexico for
Good.
4 to 6 months. I would go to Alaska for 4 to 6 months. I did a transatlantic crossing to Spain, and I kind of traveled the world through dance.
What a great gig.
For a few years.
That's fantastic.
And I was kind of going back and forth, dancing on ships, going back and assisting, trying to operate, trying to save, blowing through my savings while I was working, going back on another ship, et cetera, et cetera. This kind of pattern. I did that like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And then finally I got called for this opportunity to go tap dance in Japan for Tokyo Disney. And it was a 14-month contract. And I kind of did the math. If I could take all the yen that I would be making from that job, live off of the per diem, and transfer it to US dollars, I would be able to piece together a rig.
Oh, wow.
And so that's what I did. I moved to Japan and I tap danced because my family couldn't help me. I didn't have any credit.
Yeah.
I didn't have any options. I was actually in debt. So I had no options on how to get a rig. So that was kind of my only way to get in, was to
Yeah.
go tap dance in
Look,
Japan.
you basically you were like, what do I have? What are my opportunities? All right, I'm going to figure this out and do
Yeah.
it. So when you say you went to Japan, so are you in like is that like a 2 shows kind of a day kind of thing at Disney World or
was-
something, or
It was 5 shows a day, 5 days a week.
5?
Yeah, five shows a day, 5 days a week, and we had like
What's a show? Like an hour? Half hour?
50 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we'd have 50 minutes on, I think 50 minutes off, uh, every day for 5 days a week, and if you wanted to travel and go see Japan,
Yeah.
you could do 6 day weeks, and just kind of do 4 or 5 6 day weeks in a row,
Oh,
and then you'd be able to
bank
have
some
like
days, yeah.
4 or 5 days off in a row,
Wow.
and then travel. So that's what I would do.
That's
I
really
would just work a lot and then go travel and see Japan, and that was awesome.
How old are you at this point?
I was 22, 23.
Wow, that's amazing. That's just incredible. I can't even imagine how cool that must have been.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was an awesome opportunity. I got to meet some Steadicam operators in Japan,
Oh, no way.
and the Steadicam community out there is very, very small.
Yeah.
But I was able to reach out through Tiffin, and I had reached out to other Steadicam operators that I knew had worked on big American films for the Japanese units, and we all got together, and it was just a really cool experience.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I would imagine, I mean, there's got to be some correlation between working in a situation like that and working on a film set where it's like everybody has their departments and you're sort of trying to work out, even just reading the room and personalities and all that. There's got to be a lot of that you probably learned just from being in that situation, no?
Mhm,
That
mhm.
translates down the line?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. So you did that for a year and then you came back and
So-
you buy a rig?
Yeah, so that was how I was able to save up to buy a rig. I came back to the States with, like 12 pieces of a rig that, were just random pro parts that
Oh, you
like,
bought stuff in Japan.
I bought stuff in Japan.
Okay.
So I'd have enough money for a battery rack. And I'm like, okay. I scoured the Steadicam forum. I
Yeah.
found, like a old Gen 2 battery rack with the frackle plate so you could
Mhm.
set it down. And I think I got the XCS level from Doc Carmen.
Okay.
I was so stoked to get
Yep.
the level from Doc because I was like, this level worked on the 40-year-old version, and I was so stoked. The
That's great.
post, I can't remember. It was it was the center post before there were kip handles, so you had to put a 5/32 in
You had to use
to
an
extend
Allen
and
wrench,
retract.
and yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't toolless yet.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was a DB2. We're getting gear
I
oriented
was
now.
going to say, for anybody listening, this is a lot of gear equipment that he bought that was very exciting at the time, but
Yeah, yeah.
probably just sounds boring to most people.
It was
But that's amazing.
yeah, yeah.
And so, I mean, did it all come together to be like a complete rig, or you were still missing parts by the time you came
It
back?
I was able to piece together a whole rig.
Yeah.
I had a 3A arm with an old pro rig and a
Uh-huh.
new pro gimbal, which I was very excited
That's
about. That's
cool.
what I spent the most money on was the
Yeah.
gimbal, and I took advice from my operator friends at the time. That's they said the arm and the gimbal are the most
Yeah,
important
like if you're going to
two
put money into
components.
something, go
Yeah.
for this. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I there was no way I could get a pro arm, so
Yeah.
I went for the 3A, and then I got the pro gimbal, which I was stoked.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That and so when I got my rigs, well, I mean, by the time that I got my pro, I just bought a pro. But before then, it wasn't piecemeal because things weren't components, right? So you just bought like some old rig, and that's the way that it was. And then you invariably like took a hacksaw and started cutting
Yeah.
cutting it up, which was ridiculous. But I do remember the first new thing that I ever bought was a WRC4 follow focus, which was the Cinema Products follow focus, and it came in this gray attaché case. It was the only new thing that I owned.
Yeah.
And I was like I wouldn't let it out of my sight. Like I would clean it at the end of the day. And actually, this shows you how things have changed. That was like a whole transmitter, receiver, whatever. I used to carry that on as luggage on the plane when I would
wow.
fly, and nobody ever asks me
Yeah.
anything about it. Times have changed a little bit. They would never allow it on now. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's really cool. But prior to that, in your off time when you weren't, dancing and whatnot, were you operating at all, or were you just
Yes.
so you were starting to like regular operate a little bit?
Yeah, so prior to Japan and the cruise ship stuff and touring, I was mostly assisting, and then I would hop on to any operator gigs that I could find.
Yeah, like the
Um,
Craigslist kind of
the
stuff or whatever,
Craigslist
or
stuff.
whoever knew.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And then there was Mandy for a little bit. Mandy.com was a thing.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I don't know if that's a thing
Uh-huh.
anymore, but
That was like where people would post jobs.
yeah, and you could reach out and apply for,
Oh, no way. Okay.
jobs and
Yeah, I didn't
stuff,
even know about that.
like film related stuff.
So do you remember like the early stuff that you were operating on back then in non-Steadicam stuff? Like when you went in, I mean, did you just sort of like make it up as you like how'd you figure out headroom and stuff like that? Like or you know,
Okay, well, I guess we're kind of like way out of order here, but
sorry.
back in high school when I met Julio, and I first stepped onto a film set, one of the words of advice that I got was photography, is to go
Totally.
and shoot as much as you can
Everybody should listen to
on
this.
a film camera.
Yep.
And so the very first ever piece of equipment that I ever bought was a Canon AE1
Mm.
film camera, and I went to this arts high school, Loxa in LA, that was
You went to
on.
my daughter went to Loxon.
Oh, no way!
Yeah.
I had no
Yeah.
idea.
They have such a great film program too.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It wasn't a film program before.
Back then it wasn't.
It wasn't a department. It was like a program.
Oh,
So
okay,
you
yeah,
could
yeah.
you
No,
could
it's its
take
own department now.
classes
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
I think they started a department after I went.
Yeah.
But
Loxley is LA County High School for the Arts,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
And I've actually gone in there and with the Steadicam to the like
you're
after
kidding me.
hours and shown the film
that's
school.
hilarious.
It's great. You should do it too if you're back
Yeah.
there. They love it. Yeah, it's great. Great school.
Yeah, so I went to Loxa, and they shared the campus with Cal State LA.
Yep.
And I was not the best student in that I would, ditch classes because it was an art school and everything was kind of unorganized. I had access to this massive library with all these films that I could go watch
At the college.
at the college.
Yeah, because they sort of have access to the library and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
so
Yeah.
the high school students have access to the
All right.
college library and all these things. So I would leave class, and I would actually turn in my homework, and I would tell the teachers ahead of time, like, hey, I'm going to go to Starbucks. You want anything?
Yeah.
I would get them something, hand in all my classwork, paperwork,
Yeah.
homework, all that stuff.
By the way,
And then
totally preparing you for the film industry right
yeah,
there.
and then I would go and I watch, you know, Eight and a Half
Oh,
for
that's
like,
so
you know,
cool. Like
in
in the
some
library
in the
or whatever. Yeah.
library by myself with headphones on
That's so
and like
great.
just check out Fellini
Yeah.
and you know, the 400 Blows and all these kind of
I
like
mean, did you go to like did you get a list or how did you know? I mean,
I
how did you know what to watch?
I don't remember how. I think I somebody mentioned Truffaut and I
Okay.
was like, okay, Truffaut,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, this is some special stuff. And then I was kind of branching out from there, uh, you know, to then Italian movies
Yeah. Like one
and
thing
so
leads to another. Yeah.
and then all this to say is that you know we had access to the college facilities, and so
Yeah.
there was a film photography program that had a building. So I would sneak into the dark room and I would develop my film
This is great.
in the college's dark room
Yeah.
and just ask people questions in there and start printing. And so that was my introduction to photography. Is I got this AE1. I was teaching dance at the time, so I would teach dance, save up my money. I went to a store, bought the AE1, and then got film for cheap at the college and was just kind of printing my negs there
That's great.
and kind of learning about filters in
That's
black and white and composition
yeah.
and you know the people in the film photography classes, you know, they were all, you know, wanting to give advice and stuff. So
Sure.
it was just kind of an
Did
open
they
book of
realize that
wealth of
you were the high
knowledge.
school kid from down the road, or
I
did you
don't
just not say anything?
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I think I was just trying to fly under the radar
That's so great.
and it was dark in there.
Yeah.
So
You just
um,
like talk with a deeper voice.
yeah. But yeah, to answer your question, composition and all that stuff, I kind of was learning it on my own through film photography and then books and just watching movies, watching as many movies as I could.
So
The
great.
first movie that really, oh man, we're all over the place timeline wise.
Don't worry
But when
about
I
it.
was 12, I was watching westerns because my grandpa was into westerns,
Cool.
and I was watching these Clint Eastwood movies as a kid, and I remember like that was the first time that I realized that the camera was a thing.
Like that someone was creating this frame or
Someone was
made a decision.
behind
Yeah.
the lens
That's
doing
cool.
something and making choices.
Uh,
Up until that point, you know,
yeah.
you watch a movie and you kind of are just into the story and you're just paying attention to the dialogue and the
Yeah.
actors but watching the good, the bad, the ugly, you know, these scenes where you're
Totally.
so close to these person's eyes and then you cut away to this massive wide, you're so far away, and then all of a sudden you're so close again, and this tension that's building just by the angles of the camera and the lens choicing. That was the first time that I realized, okay, you can actually make decisions behind a camera to tell a story,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be the same thing every time.
That's
And there's
cool.
something different about this. And what is it? And is it that you're closer? Is it that you're farther? Is it the lens? I didn't know the language at the time, but that was the first time that I had recognized that the camera was a tool to tell a story.
That's awesome. I
And
love
that was what ignited my
yeah.
passion for film.
That's so cool that you had a light bulb moment and you actually like remember the light bulb moment. You know,
Yeah.
that's really amazing. Do you remember when you were when you were sneaking up to the college? Do you remember like a film that just blew you away? Is there like anything that sticks out?
The 400 blows, you know, the cameras were like the size of refrigerators, and for the time the camera didn't move too much. But then I remember the last scene where the
Hmm.
main character, he's running towards the beach and the camera's just tracking in profile. It reminds me of a shot that you did one time, didn't you? You did a shot, like a tracking profile shot in New York, didn't you?
I mean, I've done a lot of stuff,
like a
but
really long tracking
oh,
profile
you're
shot.
talking about on Shame, the when he's running across the city.
Yes. It's
Yeah,
very, very
yeah.
similar to that. So I remember watching this shot in the 400 blows and just being like, "Wow, this
Yeah,
is really cool. This is really special."
that's
And
cool.
it's just beautiful, beautiful
Oh,
storytelling.
that's amazing. That's so cool that you remember all this stuff. And yeah. And by the way, for anybody who's listening, I say this all the time. Is like people are like, yeah, but I don't have access to a camera and I don't have access to this. It's like nowadays you have a phone. Go out and take pictures. Like
Yes.
and the thing that I always say to people is don't take 40 pictures and then like decide which one you want. Take like look at what you want and take one picture. And ideally for me, and I still do it. Um, Telephotos, I think, are always better long lenses just because you can be across the street and not interfering and sort of frame stuff. But it's
Yeah.
the way to tell a story, right? And
Yeah.
then when you need to land a close up, you know where you want to go instinctively. It becomes second nature. I
Yeah.
love that. That's so great. So you got back here from Japan and you had a working study cam at that point, or like or
Yeah,
close to it,
I'd say it was working. It was
ish.
good enough
Like
to, you know,
all the pieces were there.
all the pieces were
Okay.
there. I think there was like one, you know, the center post pin where it mates with the battery rack was kind of loose, and so if you were, you know, there was a little bit of
A little bit,
vibrations in there,
but
but you know that's to be expected with your first rig.
also,
It's
by
not
the
going to be
way, it's
perfect.
so funny because people are like, "Oh, there's a teeny little bit of vibration here," and I was like, I always think like, you should see what we used
Yeah,
to work with.
yeah,
It's like if we put it on, and I mean, the main thing, and I've said it before here too. And did you ever see the Model One Steadicam?
yeah.
Yeah. So it had those two switches, and the first switch heated up the tube,
Oh my
and
God.
you would turn it on and nothing would happen. And then you turn the second switch on that turned the tube on, and you'd sort of hope that it went ching,
Oh
and then
my
the green
goodness.
screen would come up, but it didn't always do
Yeah,
that. So now, like when people complain, I'm like, I'm sorry. I
yeah,
can't- you know,
yeah,
the fact that if your monitor goes down, there's like 12 other monitors on set
yeah.
you could somehow use. But anyway, so did you just start going back to Craigslist and going, I got a steady cam up to
Immediately went
whatever?
straight to
Yeah.
Craigslist and just started, you know, reaching out to people, everyone that I knew.
Did you take
I
a class or anything, or did you just put it
I
on and start doing it?
I couldn't afford a
Yeah.
class. I There was no way for me. I had just bought this rig and spent everything I had. When I came back from Japan, I pieced together the rig and I was able to get a weight plate on there so I could practice. And
Yeah.
I'd reached out to uh, every operator that I knew that was doing Steadicam from my AC days
Okay.
that was willing to, you know, practice or like hang out with me or have discussions or
Teach you anything.
tell me anything that
Yeah.
I'm doing wrong
Were people pretty receptive? I
because
mean,
I couldn't take a course because
yeah.
I couldn't
They're
afford a
also,
course.
besides not affording them, it wasn't like there were a ton of courses back then. I mean, there's more stuff now. You know, there like
Yes.
every
Yeah.
year or every 6 months there might be something or whatever.
Yeah.
But were people pretty receptive and open?
I had a couple people never respond, and I
Mm.
expected
Yep,
that.
yep.
Um, there was one a buddy of mine, Dustin Heindel, who runs a camera house now in LA. I would pull focus for him on like every Steadicam job. Like he would just kind of package me together, and I would just go pull focus for him.
He was a Steadicam
And he was a
operator.
Steadicam
Okay,
operator, yeah.
yeah.
So he was totally cool with me coming over to his place and, you know, checking out my rig versus his rig. A buddy of mine, Chris Lowe, is like a
Yep.
huge. He's my best friend. I was in his wedding,
Good
and
guy.
like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I love Chris Lowe. If you're listening, what's up, dude?
Shout out to Chris.
Shout out to
Yep.
Chris. But Chris was a huge help for me at that time. We were both learning and growing and practicing, and we would practice for hours, as many days of the week as we could
That's
because we weren't
awesome.
working.
Yeah.
So, and it was literally like, okay, what how are you breathing when you are doing this slow push in and let's take lasers and attach it to our bodies and aim it at a target and
Oh, wow.
walk and
Yeah.
let's dissect things. Let's film each other as we're doing these shots and
That's
watch it
so
back.
great.
So, you know, and
I love
so
this.
it was Chris Lowe, it was Xavier
Oh,
Thompson,
yeah.
Quaid Sitabaka,
Oh,
Sam Law, Nate Conant. It was this group of guys in LA that I had met, of younger operators who were just wanting to learn and grow, and we would just get together and have these practice sessions.
That's so great.
I highly recommend, if you're a Steadicam operator and you're listening, if you don't have a community, go reach out to people. Reach out to people who are ahead of you career wise, behind you career wise, and at your level, and just get together and practice. Get the rigs out, throw them on, and just hang out, and you could learn from each other. There's so many things to learn from. There's no right or wrong way, as long as you're level, to do things, and you could learn so much. It's so invaluable to create that community and that group.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And actually, I mean, I don't know about all other communities, but Steadicam operators are such a giving community. I
Yeah.
think sometimes like younger people are sort of like, well, I can't email so and so because like they're a big, blah blah blah. And it's like 9 times out of 10. I mean, look, some people are just that's the way they are in their lives, but most Steadicam operators are like, yeah, how can I help you? Like,
Yeah.
let me show you how to do this or whatever if I have time.
Yeah.
It's a great community, and I love hearing that you guys all. I mean, I know most of those names. I didn't know who was connected to who.
Sure.
But it's just for the love of it, and
Yeah.
and it's also like even as an established operator, it's like sometimes it's good to have another person looking at you going, why are you doing that? Because
Yeah.
you're not outside of yourself, right?
Yeah.
And it makes
Yeah.
that's a huge difference. That's great.
Yeah.
So were you doing like short films or music videos or what? I mean,
Yes. So then practicing Craigslist, just like all day, every day. And
Ari Robbins told me that when he started out, when he wasn't working, he would sit at home and literally like hit refresh because he wanted to be the first person to email when something came.
I was one of those people. I would have the computer out. I would just refresh over and over and over
That's so
again
great.
until a new ad came up, and then I would just,
Yeah, because you're just hungry to work on anything,
get
right?
in
Yeah.
there, copy and paste that thing, and change the name, and like be ready to go. Yeah, so hungry,
That's awesome.
and just trying to work on anything. I had reached out to film schools, New York Film Academy, USC, UCLA,
Mhm.
all those guys, and just trying to work on student film. So
Yeah.
it was a combination of student films, Craigslist stuff, lots and lots of music videos. And music videos were like such a big thing for Steadicam during that time. I was able to learn so much because you're always under pressure. No one wants to wait for anything,
Nope.
and it's a good place to learn, I'd say, because it doesn't have to be perfect.
That's the key to it
It,
is nobody's looking for perfection. And
yeah.
sometimes they're even looking for the opposite. So you
Yeah,
can
they
go,
want Dutch craziness.
yeah,
So it's like, you can throw the Dutch craziness, but then it's like, all right, I'm just kind of sick of that. Let's do some regular,
Yep.
op-
You
You
sneak
could throw
regular
that in.
stuff in
Yeah,
there.
you could throw it in there, and then use it as practice.
Yeah.
But you can just kind of throw things around and learn your space with the camera, learn how to anticipate with actors or non-actors for that matter,
Yeah.
and learn tempo and rhythm and musicality and choreography and all these things. So lots and lots of music videos.
I got to assume your dance stuff must have come in massively helpful during that.
That was
Right?
super helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would memorize the choreography of the dancers, and understand, okay, 4/8 after the music starts, when this intro kicks in,
Wow.
they're going to do a ripple across from left to right. So I can do these in out things for 4/8 counts, or for 3/8 counts, and I'll use 1/8 count to get myself prepared for the ripple. And then that fifth 8 count would start, the ripple would cross, and I could laterally go across this ripple and get this really cool shot,
That's amazing.
and just try to time things out with the actors. I would get together with the choreographers and say, hey, like, what are the really cool points here?
Yeah.
And like, what are we looking for? What do you want to photograph?
Well, on top of that, I have to assume, just listening to you talk right here, the choreographers after like 2 seconds must have been like, oh, this guy understands our language. Like, yeah, we're doing this and we're doing that. I mean, a
Yeah.
totally different thing. Whereas I would be going, hey, if I'm over here, will they hit me?
Yeah. So
That's incredible.
So later on, when I started, getting better and working on bigger stuff, I would get together I would actually meet choreographers, and the choreographers would sell me to agencies. And so I would be
Oh, wow.
traveling from LA to New York to Atlanta to wherever on music videos with these choreographers, and
That's
I would be
amazing.
I would be brought on before the DP was ever brought on,
Wow.
sometimes before the director was ever brought on, because the artist would bring on the choreographer,
Sure.
and then the choreographer would bring me on.
Because everybody trusts each
And
other, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then and then I would work with some artists where
Oh,
the
that's so
choreography is
cool.
so important. Beyonce, for one, her and I clicked immediately, and she would come over and whisper camera notes in my ear.
Really?
Oh yeah, and it was all choreography based camera
Yeah,
notes.
I mean, I don't know, I don't know anything about Beyonce to the point that you do, obviously, but I have to assume that, I mean, she's immediately going to recognize someone who is a fellow dancer
Yeah,
who's speaking the same language, and it has to be very, very exciting to be able to go, oh, I can speak my language to this person, and they will understand,
yeah,
as opposed to not,
yeah, yeah.
that's incredible. That's so. Let me ask you a question based on something you said. So sometimes you would get hired before the DP.
Yes.
Tell me about that, because that can be a tricky relationship,
Of
right?
course,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, no DP wants to step onto a job and then say, "Oh, we already have an
Yeah.
operator."
I mean, I think it depends
Um,
on the DP actually. If it's a DP who is secure in who they are and they're getting that information and they are understanding why, that DP might go, "Oh, this person's an asset." But
sure,
that's not always the case. So did you run into situations where they were like, "I don't want to work with this guy."
absolutely,
And
yeah.
how do you deal with that?
I mean, I think it still happens to this day.
Sure.
You meet a director and they're like, "Oh, I have an operator," and the DP's like, "Oh, I have my guy,"
Yeah.
and the producer's like, "Well, I got this guy who's really gonna help us out on the budget side." So
Exactly.
everybody has their own person that
Yeah.
they want, and it's almost every job at this point. I think whether it's a commercial or a narrative thing,
Yeah.
it's you versus who everyone else wants to bring, because everyone wants to bring their person, and so um, you get used to it. I think
But do you,
also rejection is very much a thing in our industry.
yeah.
You and you learn that doing the short form stuff, the commercials and the music videos. You're on hold for a week, and then your hold is let go,
Yeah.
and it sucks, but you really can't count the chickens before they hatch. You
No.
just kind of get used to hearing, okay, I'm going to put this job on hold. I'm not going to become emotionally attached to it,
Even though you do,
even though
because you're
you
all
do.
excited
Of
about
course, of
whatever.
course it does.
Yeah.
Of course you do.
Yep.
But yeah, and in that instance with the choreographer and the agencies and stuff, those agencies were also using the same DPs, and so
Okay.
so
So
it would
that's a little
actually
different.
work out
Yeah.
sometimes where the choreographer would pitch me to the agency, and they'd be like, yeah, let's get this guy in, and they'd hire the DP. Turns out the DP's a buddy of mine and
There
was
you go.
gonna ask for me to get on there anyways, because we
Sure.
had all worked
So
together.
that's a different
Yeah,
situation.
so
Yeah.
it would work out in the end, but yeah, it's very much a thing where um, sometimes you get put on hold for a job, and and everyone wants to be put on, and sometimes what I do is I reach out to those other operators who are my friends, and I'll say, hey, I'm gonna stand my rate at this, and
Hmm.
then everyone kind of agrees to that,
Yeah.
and you let production decide,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. If
you
it's
let
a
the
money
director
thing,
decide,
absolutely. Yeah.
and because it's not a money thing anymore.
No.
It's truly just you know
Someone work with this person and someone work
someone's
with
going to
that
get the
person.
job,
Yep.
and it's going to be one of us, and that's totally okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's part of it. There's no question about it. Just going back to when you get hired first with the DP, and I only want to ask this specifically because if it had happened to you at all, do you ever, like, if it's someone you don't know, do you reach out to them and go, "Hey, I just want to let you know I understand that this is a weird situation and I want to make sure you're okay with it," or do you just not do anything? Do you wait for them to reach out for you? Or did you ever not have that situation like that?
I have reached out. It's a touchy
It
subject because you
is.
don't you
That's
don't
why I
want
ask. Yeah.
yeah, you don't want to seem really like needy for the job, but then I have. I've reached out. If I have 2-3 degrees of separation with that
Mhm.
person or so, maybe I'm able to get a foot in the door and say, hey, you've worked with my good friend. He said great things. I'd hope to work with you
Yeah.
someday. you know
Yeah.
um
You sort of, I think what you do, you sort of call up and sort of show that deference to let them know, like, I am working,
Yeah.
for you. I know. The reason I ask is because I remember I was talking to Andrew Mitchell, and Andrew is Ryan Murphy's guy,
Yes.
and Ryan would literally sometimes just they'd have a steady cam operator on a show, and he would like fly Andrew across the country for like a musical number to do one day because
Yeah.
he was comfortable with him, and he was telling me that he did a show. He did a show with Bill Pope. I can't remember the name of it. But and he called me up and he's like, "Hey, Ryan wants me to do this." Ryan was producing this movie with Bill Pope. Do you know him? And I told him everything. And so Andrew just called him up and he said, "Listen, first of all, I'm a huge fan of your work and this and that and the other and whatever. And I know this is kind of odd because Ryan is sort of saying who you're using. I want to make sure you're okay with that. And if you're not, I'd like to know because I don't want to be a burden to you. And
Yeah.
I'll try to figure some way out of it because I
Yeah.
don't want to do that." And I always thought that was kind of a class move. And Bill basically said, "No, look, I looked you up. You've done great work. He's happy with you. I'm sure you're going to be great." And they had a great working. As a matter of fact, they're like good friends now. But it doesn't always go that way,
What a
unfortunately.
classy guy.
No, total, both of them. I mean, 100%. But
And Andrew Mitchell's work is, oh my gosh,
yeah,
it's so good.
Andrew's like,
Ah,
yeah, yeah. I actually, Andrew was my assistant on a show in Texas that nobody ever saw. It was a miniseries, and I remember he wanted to be a steady camera operator. He's like, can I like on weekends, can you show me how to operate?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And now I regret it. No, I don't at all. He's a
yeah.
phenomenal person and a phenomenal, actually now he's a phenomenal DP.
Yeah.
And I've actually worked with him as a DP, which was great fun. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's just, Andrew, if you're listening, great stuff.
Yeah.
So do you remember, was there a point where you start, because I got to imagine like when you're first going for those Craigslist jobs, even though it's a Craigslist job, what are they paying you? Like a couple $100,
Oh
if that, or
yeah.
whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. Actually, going back to Ari, I remember he would go, "Well, they're not paying me, but they're probably going to feed me. So I won't have to like buy lunch that day. So
Yeah.
that's worth it. And I'll
Yeah.
get to like practice." So,
Yeah.
and we were all there. But do you like at first when you're going out, you're probably petrified of like, "Oh God, I don't know if I can do this or whatever." But do you remember like a point where you were like, "Oh, I'm going to go out and I'm sure I can do whatever they want of me"? Was there like a point where you got comfortable enough that you're like knowing you can go on set and do it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. At first, it was like the hardest thing is to not look like you're struggling.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
You're
Just
like, I'm
like
like dying, I'm
fake it till you make
sweating, and I'm like,
it.
oh my God, I gotta set this thing down. My knees are shaking.
That's exactly right.
And so I remember like kind of categorizing these stages monetarily with like the rates that I was working at the time.
Okay.
Like I don't feel like I had the experience to demand this rate
Yeah,
and
yeah,
feel that
yeah.
I'm worth that rate.
Yep.
Once I feel that I'm comfortable with everything that they're asking or whatever, then it's like, okay, I've done enough of these jobs. I don't feel like I'm dying when I pick this thing up anymore. I feel pretty comfortable with this. And I also feel like my time is worth more at this
Yeah.
point.
Well,
So
and you can bring something that you couldn't bring before, so
yeah,
it's worth more. Yeah.
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 So then I would when I got that to that point where I felt I was comfortable, I would, raise the bar a little bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'd have to say no to a lot of those
Yeah.
jobs. But by that point, I had been working with enough producers and DPs that other jobs were coming in now that I didn't have to scour the Craigslist thing. So calls were coming in at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And I think that that happens naturally. The more you work, the more people you meet, the more the work comes. And so I was getting calls at that point, and then trying to raise the bar, um, and then just slowly over time, then you feel really comfortable with everything, and then it's like, okay, I feel like I should raise the rate a little bit, and doing that with my community of operator friends too. So it's like, okay, you guys are all going out for X amount.
Yeah. Where are you at?
Where are you at? What
Yep.
should we all be? And that's constantly a thing in our industry
Yeah.
as it evolves. But agreeing to kind of a floor
Yep.
and a ceiling or whatever
Yeah.
that
For
is.
based on what you've done and what you can do and what you could bring to it. It's funny you
I
were
don't know if
saying
that
it.
answers your
No,
question.
it does, but it's funny you were saying about like sort of faking it at the beginning because I remember very specifically the DP coming up to me and going, "Did you kick the rig in the middle of that shot?" And I instantly did a calculation of like, what am I? Because like I totally had, and I didn't think they saw it. It was during a music video, and I went, "Oh yeah, actually, did you not like that? I was trying something. Maybe, yeah, don't do that." Like, "Oh, okay, I don't," and totally was like, "Yeah, I did that on purpose. Really, I thought that'd be edgy." It's like, no,
Yeah.
that's crap. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, great. I'm not going to kick the rig
Oh,
because
that's funny.
none of us like knew what we were doing back
Yeah, yeah,
then,
yeah.
just making it up. So, and are they also like, are you also going on conventional camera at this time? So you're like starting to get those chops as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I eventually, once I started feeling really good and had joined the union and stuff, I went off and I started doing these Hallmark Christmas movies
Nice.
that Neil Bryant had actually introduced me to that group.
Great
He had,
Steadicam operator.
oh my
Yeah,
gosh, he
great,
is
great operator in general. But
Neil. I
yeah,
love you. You're amazing. But so I had met Neil. We had started practicing together, and he had been doing the Christmas movies years prior, and then somehow he introduced me, and so I started doing those Christmas movies.
this
And
is
I
one like once you get in that circle, they just call you for the next one and the next
they
one, the
just
next one. Yeah,
keep cranking them
yeah,
out. They
yeah.
do these movies in Utah. They'll do
Like a 4 week movie or something, or 3 week movie
yeah,
or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
4 to 6 week movie, and they do them,
That's great.
4 or 5 times a
So
year.
you're B Steadicam or
I was
A
B
Steady?
Steady
Okay,
Cam, and the DP was A.
I got you.
And
Yep.
Teo Angel, who I was working with at the time, who was shooting those movies, he taught me a lot about how to be a B camera operator, how to be a conventional operator,
Yeah.
and um, certain things like, you look for the third or whatever to put somebody's face in. It's very simple, but to me, I just didn't know. I'd put somebody in the third, and he'd be like, "Oh, well, you're shaving off their shoulder a little bit." I'm like,
Uh-huh.
"Oh,
Uh-huh.
I guess I didn't think about that." And he's like,
Yeah.
"Well, yeah, you got to keep their shoulder, right?"
So like basically it's like starting to learn the nuances of it.
Yeah,
You get the
yeah.
idea, but the nuances, yeah. Yeah.
So he's like, "That's not going to cut with
Uh-huh.
the wide,"
Yeah.
and thinking, well, it's not going to cut. Like this shot's awesome. Like, who's going to cut away from
Yeah,
this?
exactly. I don't care. It's not going to cut. Don't
Yeah.
use your
And
yeah.
so he taught me a lot about how to compose for something that's going to edit well.
That's great.
And that was something that I never
That's
thought of
huge
before,
right there.
coming from music videos and commercials and
Yeah.
short form, where you're just slapping things together and they'll figure it out later.
Yeah. And well, I think one of the important things about all this stuff is like you're saying, you're on the music video and you're learning how to do Steadicam, but like every shot they're going to use is like 2 seconds long. So like
Yeah.
you can screw up. And then
Totally.
you go to, and nothing against these things, but you go to the Hallmark Christmas movie and it's like you're not going to screw up, but it doesn't have to be as perfect as it's going to be on like, Lawrence of Arabia, because they're just doing it fast and trying to get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And he's probably, I mean, I'm sure he's right that that frame isn't quite right, but chances are they'd use it anyway, or something. So
Sure.
like there's less at stake, so you can make those mistakes, and those are great places to learn, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned something about how to be a B camera operator.
Yes.
Thoughts on that for people? Like, what does that mean?
Being a B camera operator is, I mean, it's a hard job. I mean, both A and B are very hard. I'd say being a B camera operator is really looking at the scene as a whole and understanding what the A shot is and diagnosing whether or not the angle that you have in your head is worthwhile,
Mhm.
if it's a good cut, if it's gonna further advance the story. Um, and then also from a lighting perspective, are you on the shadow side or are you on the key side? And is it going to be something that you're going to propose to the DP and he's going to be like, no, man, like you're on the wrong side for the light. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So you need to learn a little bit about lighting. You need to, look at the art. Is there a tree growing out of this person's head at this angle? How valuable is it? And also knowing the visual language of the story as a whole. Is it the kind of project where it's not crazy to go to 100 mil, or do you have to be on a 50 mil, a little
Mhm.
closer? Because cutting away to 100 is not going to match all the other scenes that have been shot prior. You
Yeah.
can't just just shoot something that doesn't match because you're forcing it. So if it feels forced, it's probably not going to work. If the lighting works, if you're not having to move, couches and chairs and trees and all this stuff and adjust the mirrors because you're seeing reflections of stuff, and if you're not coming in at the last minute, can
Yeah.
you propose this thing? And do you do it to the A operator, or do you do it to the DP, or do you do it to the director? And understanding the political environment in which you're
Mhm.
stepping into when
Mhm.
you propose those things.
Yep.
Um, if you go to the director, the DP might be upset because he's not lit for that.
Yeah.
But then now he's forced to make it work. If you go to the DP, well, then the A operator might not jive with that because uh, he really has it in his head that he wants to do a push in throughout this last line of the scene, and he's not going to be able to do that now because he has to make both shots work.
Yep.
So there's a lot of you know
Pitfalls.
pitfalls and fires that you have to dance around
Mhm.
being a B camera operator.
Yeah.
Um,
That's probably the most succinct like explanation of all the things that you go through when you're thinking of pitching a shot. No, it
yeah,
really is.
yeah,
I just you just kept on hitting on all the stuff that I would say, but it is that thing, and you didn't mention it specifically, but you mentioned things around it. Is also the thing of like, if I pitch this, how long is this going to take to set up?
yeah,
Because they're already pushing to shoot this. Like,
yeah,
there's all those things, and whose ear you put it in, and whatever.
yeah,
It's interesting because yeah, B camera I think is almost harder than A camera.
yeah,
Except for the only thing I'll say is A camera, there's the mentality of like you never you never stop. Like you're
yeah,
always, even if you think you've got everything, you're still trying to figure out of what you've missed, or you're going two steps ahead to try to get to the next thing. Whereas B camera, sometimes you can sit back and sort of like turn the hard drive off for a minute if you're
yeah,
not working, but
sure,
you're still paying attention.
of course,
But the rest of it, yeah, it's a minefield all over the place.
yeah.
Yeah,
So luckily, in those Christmas movies, the DP was A,
yeah,
and he was willing to teach me, and so
that's
it
great.
was a healthy environment
Yeah,
for a B camera operator. On a big show, you have a lot more political fires that you have to
yep,
balance, and
yeah.
spinning plates and all those things.
Well, and then the other thing that must have been was as B. I'm assuming you were B steady on those.
Be steady, yeah,
So then you are going and sometimes in sort of becoming the A camera operator when you're doing steady cam. So you're getting a little bit of that, like how do I work with the AD and how do I work with the
sure,
actors and all that stuff.
yeah.
So that's fantastic. And then how long were you sort of like doing B camera on things before you became an A camera operator?
I can't count
Yeah.
the projects right now off the top of my
But I
head.
mean, a couple of years or like
Yeah, definitely a few
yeah, you
years.
sort
I
of
had
hone your
done,
craft.
yeah, I did Be Steady on for a few years on those movies.
Oh,
And
so you
then
were with that group of movies for quite some time then.
I think I did maybe a year and a half, 2 years, and then carried over with that crew onto other projects,
Gotcha.
indie movies,
Yeah.
Netflix movies.
Okay.
So I'd done Be Steady for maybe 3, 4 years before my first A camera project, which, uh, well, yeah, and then I was A camera operating on these indie movies, and then it was the first major that I got. The
Hmm.
first major was as A camera, which was a huge, scary thing for me, and I had reached out to you
Oh, that's right.
begging for
Wait, is
advice
that's the
because
what
it was Fear Street.
Fear Street? That's right. Because
Yeah,
they were shooting. Remind me that it was three movies like back to back, so it was like 9 months worth of work or something crazy.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
something
here
like
in
that.
Atlanta.
Yeah,
Yeah,
eight months or
yeah.
so. I think it was like two
Well,
and a half,
I'll
three
tell you
months
something, because we
per
probably got the
movie.
call at the same time, and I was living in LA, and I got the call, and I was like, I don't want to go to Atlanta for 8 months. Nothing against Atlanta. I don't want to go anywhere for 8 months.
Sure, yeah.
And so I turned it down. And then I think I came here for a TV show. And did you know that I was coming here or something? Or you called me?
I can't remember how I knew that you were in town. I think
Or maybe you just called me and I said I happened to be in town or whatever. But I remember we went to breakfast or something like
I
that.
had heard that you were in
Yeah.
town,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
I was like, I really, really would love to just steal Dave
I
for
remember this.
coffee because I'm terrified.
You were terrified.
And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I need help.
And I think it was
Um,
like a week before you were starting or something like that,
yeah,
right? You were starting
yeah.
right away. I remember that very, and I don't think I'd ever met you before. Had I?
No,
No, I don't think, I
no.
mean, I knew your name, but I'd never met you before. I remember very specifically, you were like, I'm really, like, I really don't know what I'm doing. And I think mainly what I did was I was like, you do know what you're doing. You just don't know that you know what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That was the biggest like
do you remember anything I told you that actually like had any like what's concrete, or was it just basically like, look, just coming off the ledge?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you were just kind of like talking me down a little
Okay,
bit
good.
because I was fucking terrified. And it was the advice that you gave me and Stu Cantrell. I reached out
Oh
to
yeah.
Stu
Okay.
Cantrell, um, and same thing. He was just like, listen, I know that this is like a big budget thing, and then that you're scared. But the best piece of advice that I can give you, which was given to me when I was going on to my first major and I was terrified and I was making phone calls, was this project is just like every other project you've ever
That's
done.
exactly right.
It's just a little bit bigger.
Hmm.
It's the same filmmaking process. You're still panning and tilting and doing your job as an operator.
Hmm.
It's just a little more crew and a little bit bigger lights.
Yep. That's exceptional advice. But so you had done a camera steady cam before that. Just it was
Yes.
the size of it that was freaking you out on that more
Yeah,
than anything
I
else.
had a camera operated other indie films, but
Yep.
this was my first major that I was
Yeah.
stepping
Okay.
into.
That's okay. Yeah. I think I remember that now.
Yeah.
But so do you remember like I mean uh, was day one just I mean
Oh
did
my
you
God.
think you were going to get fired, or I mean
Oh yeah, of course.
but did you but looking in retrospect, did you go in there and do the work and
Of
it
course. Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No,
I
no, no.
mean
I showed
you
up.
got through it. Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously.
I had met the DP before. We had worked on some short form stuff,
Oh, that's cool.
and it was a very steady cam heavy project, so
Yeah.
that was why they were willing to take a gamble on me.
Yeah.
Um, as like the younger guy, I showed up first shot, um, just like terrified. They did the rehearsal, and they walk away, and I'm like, okay, is this going to be dance floor? Is this going to be track? Is this slider and track?
Actually,
I
this
don't
is a
know.
good question. I'm assuming because you were here in Atlanta and you're from LA, you didn't know the dolly grip, you didn't know the camera assistant. Like, are these people you
These
knew
were
from
no,
before?
these were people
So
that
brand
I
new.
yeah,
So
brand
that's also
new.
part of it.
Yeah,
Is like, are
I was
these people? And I think as I remember, and look, I still do. Is like you go in, and you're like, are these people going to realize I don't know what I'm doing, or
oh, for
can I
sure.
fool them?
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, and I knew early on when I very first started, I had this idea of like fake it till you make it, kind of a thing. But then I learned really quickly that those with experience are knowing that you're faking it.
Yeah.
You're only trying to convince yourself.
Yeah, no,
So,
but that's a
so
big part of it because if
yeah,
you can convince yourself, then you can potentially not fall flat on your face.
yeah, yeah. So by this point, I wasn't trying to like, fake it or convince anybody. I was just saying like, hey, I would tell my dolly grip. I remember specifically first shot, first setup. Um, what do you think? I want your input for
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Let's work together on this. Oh, I think we should do this and that and this and like, okay, I think that's a great idea.
There you go. That's that easy, actually.
But I don't know about this one thing. And I was like, I think we should just have a slider on.
Meaning, there's one part of the shot
One
that
part
you
of the
think is going to
shot,
be
his
problematic. Yeah,
idea.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I think he didn't like that.
Okay.
And
Because it was challenging. Like, I don't think you're going to be able to get this, so we should do it.
well, I think he was like, he's like, I can totally do this all
Yeah,
on
yeah,
dance floor,
yeah. Exactly.
basically.
Yep.
And I was like, well, I think we just need a slider just in case
Yeah.
for this one portion of the shot.
Hmm.
And and I remember him specifically saying, he's like, I've been doing this since before you were born, bud. And he pushes the dolly
Yeah.
over the threshold of the door, just shaking his head.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh fuck,
Like day one, I've
I've messed
alienated the
this
dolly grip.
up.
Yep,
Like
yep, 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 yep.
what am I walking into? For the first half of the day, there was just kind of this tension between me and this dolly grip, and I was like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I
Yeah,
do?
yeah, yeah.
And eventually, I pulled him aside, and I was like, listen, you have so much more experience than I do, and I value that so much.
Yeah.
And I want to hear what you have to say, and I'm willing to work with you on these things. If you're willing to work with me,
Yeah.
let's work together,
Great.
and you know, let's I can learn from you. You
Yeah.
can teach me, and we can work together,
Yeah.
and let's make a great looking show. It's like we have 100 days
I
ahead
was
of
gonna say
us.
you've got. It's not like it's a week long
And
show.
I was like,
Yeah.
hopefully I'm not going anywhere. I'm thinking in my head. But like we're not going anywhere anytime soon, and we got to work together. So let's find a way to make this work in a way that we like working together.
And did he was did he?
I think he appreciated that, and
That's
he was
cool.
like, okay, like
Yeah.
this guy has the balls to bring up that he doesn't know what he's
Which
talking
he
about.
probably already knows. Because the thing
Yeah,
is, I mean, the reality is, let's face it, everybody's IMDb'd you, other people before, I
sure.
mean, we're all doing that now
Yeah,
to
yeah.
figure out who they're working with.
So I learned so much
That's great.
from that experience as
Yeah.
a younger operator
Hmm.
working with older people, and being terrified of it. And now it's just endless collaboration
Yeah.
with whoever you work with. And I think that was like such a big lesson, is like you don't have to have all the answers, uh, unless the director's asking you.
But
But like if you don't know how a shot is supposed to be done,
yep.
you can collaborate. You can get the key grip involved.
Yeah.
Get the dolly grips over and be like, "Hey, what do you guys think about this? I'm thinking about doing it this way. What's the best way of doing this?
Hmm.
What's the pros and cons of this
Yep.
if you have the time?" Um,
That's
and
the
that was the thing that scared me so much stepping onto a big set, is like
sure.
I don't have all the answers. I don't know exactly how to execute these shots.
Yep.
Um,
But I think you'll probably agree with me that where you are now, which is much farther ahead of where you were and where I am, I never have all the answers. I have
sure.
thoughts on everything,
Yeah.
but and invariably, like when we're setting up the crane, like everything about the crane is where the base is,
Yeah.
right? And I'll always look at it and go, okay, I think the base is over there. But I very specifically will say to my dolly grip, so this is the shot, and where do you think the base should go?
Yeah.
Because I want to hear what they think before I do, and hopefully it's the same. And then I'm like, yeah, I nailed it. And if not, then I'll usually go, okay, so I was thinking it should be over there because of this reason. Why are you thinking over here? And then invariably, because I usually am lucky enough to work with good people, they'll go, well, the power lines are over there and we're not going to be able to buckets. Not, oh yeah, because that's something I didn't
Yes.
think about.
Yes.
Okay, let's bring it
Yes.
over here. Or sometimes they'll go, no, we can do it there or whatever. But
And that is like,
you never have all the answers. There's too
no,
much.
you don't.
Yeah,
But also, I think that is like such a important part of what we do, is getting the people together that are going to execute the shot executioners,
yeah,
executioners,
yeah, sure.
and talking through the shot point by point, and talking through all the other options so that they can be a part of it. It's
Absolutely.
a collaboration. Dolly grips, pickle operators or crane operators,
Yeah,
however you want to say it, they all have a say, and they've done these shots a million times as
yeah.
well. So what you think might be the answer might not be the
Yeah,
answer.
absolutely. And the other thing is, I've never used that piece of equipment. They use it all the time. I mean, I've
Yeah.
been on it. I sit on the dolly, but they're the ones pushing it and booming it
Yeah.
up and down. So they're going to know idiosyncrasies to it. Now, that's amazing. Do you remember how long it took you till you were like, oh, I'm not going to get fired?
um, I think once we got on Steadicam.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Later, I think just before lunch, there was a Steadicam shot.
Okay, so day one, like you
Yeah,
were able to
day
do something.
one, there
Yeah.
was like a Steadicam shot that was pretty difficult,
Okay.
and I was like very comfortable, and I was like, okay, thank God, like I don't have to worry about dolly grips, I don't
Yeah.
have to worry about
I
dance
can just do
floor.
my thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I did it, and it was like take one, nailed it.
That's great.
And I think at that moment I could sense that the first AD was like, okay, thank God.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like,
Because you
hey,
never
he's not a
know.
complete idiot. He's an
Yeah,
idiot.
yeah,
He's not a
totally,
complete
totally.
idiot. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So day one, and then I, um, just further invested in those relationships with the people that I thought
Sure.
were important.
Yeah.
My dolly grip
Yep.
and the key grip and my first AC.
Hmm.
These people that knew way more than I did at the time, and I wanted to learn from them, and you know just show them that, let's make something cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think the two keys that come out of that for me that I think are so important for everybody are A, you don't need to know everything, and B, nobody else expects you to know everything, even though they want the answer. And I've said this before, is like they're often where a director or DP will come up and go, "Hey, we want to do this," and I'm like, "Yeah, great." And then as I turn around, I'm going, "I don't know how to do that."
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
walk over and you go, "How are we going to get over there? Like what?" And
Yeah.
then invariably someone will go, "Well, what if we did this or this?" And you
Yeah.
bring the DP into it. You figure it out, but it's not that you eventually figure it out.
Sure.
And then that's sort of the case. So you said that was like 90 days or something like that, or 90 shooting days or 80, or it was something ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a massive
it
amount
was
of
a
work.
long shoot.
So
Yeah.
I gotta imagine by the end of that, you're dialed in and you're like, I can do this.
I had
That's
learned
great.
a lot,
That
and
is
there was
fantastic.
many lessons learned politically, and just technically, really learning a crane,
Yeah.
understanding all the ins and outs of that world,
Hmm.
and and then storytelling, and really, I on that project, I got really close to the lead actress. We were working every day, day in, day out, and it was this like synergy
She was in
where
all three movies.
she was in two of the three
Two of the three movies.
movies.
Okay, so there's a fair amount. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But there was this synergy where, um, by the end of it, we were almost like dolly grip operator relationship.
That's great.
She would be giving a monologue, and, whether it's handheld or on whatever, a dance floor, we would wait for a certain line, and sometimes it would be just off the cuff, like, okay, let's just start a creep in here, and she would know that it
She
was
would know. Yeah,
coming,
yeah.
and she would just kind of hold for a beat. As soon as the camera started
That's
moving,
the best.
then she would start to
Yep.
deliver that last
Yeah,
line,
yeah.
and then she would draw it out until the camera was close enough. She would know that it was reaching its second position,
Mm-hmm.
and then she would finish her last line, and then the camera would
And the
stop.
great thing about that is everybody's like, "Wow, how did Nick and his Dolly Grip know it exactly?" And it's like there's some of that, but it's a whole
Yeah,
team effort, right?
yeah,
And I've had situations like that before where you're so in sync with each other, and it's the
yeah,
best thing in the world. I mean, and
yeah.
it's hard to even describe actually because I don't
It
know
is.
quite, but I think the more that I've talked about it over the years and thought about it over years, the thing that I think it comes down to is there's an inherent trust
Yeah,
in that you know what you're doing. And
yeah,
so when that dolly starts to move, which it never did before, instead of the actor or actress going, "Well, wait, why are they doing that?" or "What's happening?" They're like, "Oh, something cool. Oh, I know what we're doing."
yeah,
And then they just fall in, like, I'm gonna be part of this. I was just talking to Shelley Clayton, who's an amazing, I don't know if you know her, she's a great focus puller.
yeah,
And she pulled focus on she pulled focus on Larry Shear's camera on Joker Folie à Deux, which I don't know whether that was A or B or whatever it was, but she was saying that Joaquin understood that Larry likes the camera to constantly be moving. So even when they were pushing into close-ups, he would get into this thing where he would slowly start to pull back and then slow down and then pull back
yeah.
and slow down. And it never felt like that, but it gave them the ability, like he knew what they were going for. And there
Sure,
was like
sure.
this total symbiosis. It's amazing when that happens. It's the best thing in the world.
Oh man. It's so funny that you say that. It reminds me of a project that I worked on, the card counter, and Oscar Isaacs was our lead, and he would do his own push-ins.
Well, define that.
So the language of this movie was very still, controlled, not a whole lot of camera movement.
Okay.
Um, and I think he realized that
Yep.
after a couple days, and so he would start to give a monologue, and slowly throughout that monologue, he'd start to lean
To
in,
creep into the
just like
camera.
very, very
That's
slowly,
so great.
like imperceivably slow.
Yeah, yeah.
But then at towards the end, he's like a good foot and a half closer to the camera,
That's so cool.
and like I'm watching it, and I'm like, he's incredible, but he's so close. Well, I thought we set this frame to be like,
What
like
happened?
two buttons on his shirt, and now he's to the top of his collar.
That's great. Oh, I gotta watch this movie now
What
and look for
happened?
it.
and then we'd do the reverse, and we'd turn around and we'd match the sizes, and I'd watch and I'd be like, wait a minute, this isn't matching. Like, what's going on here? It took a couple scenes to realize that
Because it
he
was
was
so slow,
because it
basically.
was so
That's
slow. He
so
was
great.
giving his own push-ins. He was slowly leaning in to create that heightened energy that you get in that push-in.
That is very cool.
But yeah,
That's
so
very cool. So you finish that, right? And
yes.
then you're obviously like you're in a camera study, like you probably are like, I got this, I can do this. I mean, you're feeling comfortable with things. And then at some point you fell into Stranger Things season 4 and 5. It wasn't right afterwards, was it? It was a gap in between?
No, no, there was a gap. I
Mm.
had gone back to LA,
Okay.
gotten back into the commercial
Yep.
and music video world, and then done a few other movies by that point. I'd done several movies in LA, and then I went over to the DR to work on Old, who my buddy Ben Verhulst was working on. He had to
Okay.
take off. I covered for him towards the end. I
I,
met
Actually, I
Ralph
want to ask you
there.
about that.
Yes.
So Old is with M. Night Shyamalan, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What's he like to work with?
You know, he's he's very funny. He's a funny guy.
I've heard that, but I
Yeah.
mean, is he just a complete auteur? Like,
Uh,
is it all, or is he collaborator, or
well, this Old was all storyboarded.
okay?
Every single shot, the entire movie was
I
storyboarded
think that's sort of normal for,
before we
yeah,
ever
yeah,
like started doing anything.
yeah.
So it was kind of cool. You'd step onto the
It's
stage,
like a commercial.
you'd see, yeah,
Yeah.
you'd see the entire stage wall filled with, what you're doing for the day,
Wow.
and that was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
It had a very interesting visual language because it derived directly from a comic.
Yeah.
It was a comic book.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
so sort of obscure framing where
Yep.
you're kind of cutting people's eyes off, and it's like, mouths and nose and kind of a little bit of a chin and an ear or something. You're
That's
like,
great.
what is going on here? But that comes directly um, from the original book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so he was very organized in that sense. I had never seen a director that was so welcoming and comfortable in bringing children onto the set.
Oh, really?
He would talk to these children as if they were 30, 40-year-old adults. There was zero like effort to sort of dumb down or
Yeah.
slow down
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
language. He would just talk to them. He's talking to like a 6-year-old like they're a 40-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And I think the kids really appreciated that, and
Yeah.
they were welcomed into this environment
That's
like, okay,
cool.
he's not treating me like a
Oh, that's really
kid.
nice.
I
Yeah.
feel like I'm one of the other actors,
Yeah.
and that was really cool.
One
So
thing I have to ask you if he did on that, I heard from a couple other people that on Fridays he does a raffle and it's like a trip somewhere and it's like all these amazing things. Did you do that for the crew on that one? Oh,
no,
okay.
this was like
Must
the
have been other
height
ones.
of COVID. Like,
Oh,
I
okay.
think this was
Different
like the first COVID movie.
different situation all over the place. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I cut you off as you were saying, and that's where you met Ralph.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So for anybody who doesn't know, tell us who Ralph is.
Ralph is the sweetest guy you'll ever meet.
Ralph
He's
Scherer,
Ralph
right?
Scherer.
Yep.
So Ralph was dolly gripping on Old. I met him there. We struck it off, got along really well, and we've been working together ever since.
I'm so jealous of you because Ralph is one of the greatest people. He's one of the greatest dolly grips
Oh,
and crane grips, and he dresses like no one else in the entire world.
this is true. Just a moment for our listeners out there who might not have met Ralph. Ralph makes his own shorts.
Wait, I thought his mother makes the shorts, doesn't she?
Originally, like back in the 80s,
Oh,
his
I didn't get that. Okay.
yeah, so back in the day, his mom would make shorts
Yes.
for him, like of just totally like random
Yeah.
fabrics.
By the way, when
Um,
we say random fabrics, we're talking about like curtains from the 1980s from kids' rooms and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
And then he then took over and started making Django. It's okay, Bubba.
Django wants to be on the podcast.
Um, and so then he started making his own shorts, and it's like and the shirts match the shorts. He's got like over 150 pairs of shorts that travel with his dolly, so he'll never wear the same shorts twice in a project. But like it'll be like Jack Nicholson's face from The Shining, like
Yeah.
200 times, like inch by inch squares
That's
on his
exactly right.
shorts, and then he's wearing like a T-shirt that says "Overlook Hotel Colorado."
Yeah. Yeah.
And every day is different. Ren and Stimpy shorts,
Yep.
like
Yep.
Star Wars shorts. He has resume shorts where he takes titles and like covers and posters from all the movies he's ever worked on and like puts it like a quilt pattern and makes shorts out. Anyways, so I met Ralph in the DR on Old. We hit it off, and then I brought him on to Stranger Things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a call for Stranger Things. Caleb Heyman, who had shot the Fear Street movies, we had worked together
Oh,
on
I
those
didn't realize
movies.
that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
So
Yeah.
we had worked together on those Fear Street movies, um, and gotten along really, really well. I loved working with Caleb, and vice versa. He was brought on to do Stranger Things season 4,
Mhm.
and um, they they had an operator prior, Bob Gorlick,
Mhm.
who did an amazing job.
Yeah.
He stepped away after season 3. Ben Seminoff came on to
Okay.
do the beginning of season 4, and then he took off shortly after to
He probably was
start
directing,
directing.
is my
And so
guess. Yeah.
yeah, so he
Yeah.
started directing. He
Mhm.
directed a show in Hawaii, which
Mhm.
sounds pretty nice.
Yeah. Right.
So they had this open slot, um, and Caleb was like, "Well, let's bring Nick in,"
Great.
and they're like, "Well, he's too young and doesn't have the resume," and he's like, "But he's really good. Like we should try him out." And they're like, I don't know about this guy.
And that's also a show that like they expect people to perform.
They expect
Yeah.
people to perform, and precision is of the utmost
Yeah.
importance. As you know, you worked on
Yeah,
season
you brought me
5.
in for second unit, and I got a taste of that because they want exactly what they want. It
Yeah.
was sort of weirdly refreshing to be asked to
Yeah.
do specific things because you don't have that often.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah.
And so the Fear Street movies were directed by Lee Janiak, who at the time was married to Ross Duffer, one of the creators. And
Oh,
so Lee also was like,
he's okay.
he's like, yeah, like
Yeah.
try Nick out. So they brought me out for an undefined amount of time, basically to try me out.
Yeah. This is Stranger Things, which was
Yeah.
one of the biggest things out there.
Yeah.
At the
So
time.
they
Yeah.
they hadn't agreed to like a full deal memo yet because
Okay.
they weren't sure if they wanted to have me on.
Sure.
The brothers needed to sign off on
These are the Duffer Brothers, the creators, and do they direct all the No, they don't direct all the episodes, but a lot of them, right?
Yeah.
And their fingerprints are everywhere, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
they're involved.
They're
Yeah.
very much
Yeah.
involved, and so they wanted to approve of the new A operator, and so I was brought out. At the time when I came out, it was a different a block, so it was a different director, and so I had, I think, 3 weeks with that director, and then it was gonna become the Duffers block, and that
Mhm.
was really the
The
telling.
test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got called. They were like, we also need a dolly grip, and I was like, Ralph, you got to
Yeah.
hire him. And they're like, but he's out of town. I was like, Ralph. And so Ralph came on, and we were just kind of doing our thing, and that's how we joined Stranger Things.
How great to have him there, though. I mean, just because no matter what, like I've got my ace in the hole behind me at all times, and
Yeah.
I know from having worked with Ralph myself, he's a complete collaborator, and
Yes.
he just has great. And he's a storyteller. I mean, he's a
Yeah.
director in his own right, but
Yeah.
and writer and everything else. And so you come out and you're doing that. I have to assume that for the first week or so, you're thinking to yourself, okay, every single moment that I'm doing is being watched.
Oh yeah.
And even if the Duffer Brothers aren't there, I know that they're watching dailies and they're gonna like how do you tamp down that mental sort of, I mean, because that can destroy you, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's like, if you work in this industry, stress is like, it's just a given.
It
You're
is.
gonna be stressed out, and I think we all have to perform under stress.
Yeah.
And we have to perform well under stress and pressure. So that stress and pressure was pushing me to do, uh, work that at the time I hadn't worked on a project that required that level of precision out of me up until that point.
Hmm.
Um, I will never forget this. The first day with the Duffer Brothers, um, they wanted to do this shot that stitches from this like top down drone thing into the building, and it continues, and it's this big oneer throughout this rainbow room. It's like a training session with all these kids, and we had to uh, kind of it was like a step off steady cam shot with I don't know how many cues. The dolly was on this had to pull out through one of the walls through double doorways, and we had to hide it, and I had to turn around. It was like a 360 shot, and no one could be in the room. And
This is, you said that this is their first day?
this is shot one with
Shot.
the brothers. And they wanted this symmetrical top down shot from
So you're on a crane and you're stepping off the crane, which would stitch to the.
I'm on a dolly,
You're on a dolly. Okay.
on a big dolly.
Yeah.
They had machined this steel platform for me to stand on,
Okay.
so that I could get the camera height to be at like I think 12 feet.
Oh wow. So that's significant. So this is what's stitching into the drone.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And so I had to do this top down, boom down, step off shot, and then
Mhm.
hide the dolly
Mhm.
and pan around 360 moving through the room, but nobody could be in the room
Yeah.
because
You're
there's
seeing 360.
you're seeing everything.
Yeah.
And so I remember calling everybody for advice. Like, I don't know that this could be done. Like
Which part of it?
the top down,
The top down.
lock off,
Yes.
symmetrical boom
I
down
gotcha.
to a step
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. It's very
Like
hard.
this is a crane thing to
Yep.
do. This is
Mhm.
not a steady cam thing
Yeah.
to do. But it had to be done on steady cam.
Yep.
And so we did that shot. And I think every step along the way I had to give a cue to someone to drop blocks,
Oh,
to
jeez.
walk,
Good
to
Lord.
step,
Yeah.
to stand up,
Yeah.
to move across, whatever it is.
Yep.
The entire shot, I was along with the AD who's, peeking in through the door until I could, and then looking out of the corner of my eyes when the door's closed so that I could see the door,
Come around. Yeah.
giving cues. And then we finished that shot. And that was the first shot that I did with the Duffers. And the brothers aren't, at the time, they're better now, but at the time they're not the kind of people to give compliments or give any sort of approvals or like a hey, good job, or
I was
like
going to say,
nod.
now with the little that I work with them, they seem fairly quiet, but they also don't know me, so maybe that's the case. But
Yeah,
so you're basically like, don't know what, there's no response.
No response from them, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, like I'm out of here. And then I get a text from Lee Janiak saying it was a screenshot. She was texting Ross, and and Ross said, okay, Nick's good.
So she sent you the screenshot.
And she's like, did you tell him? And
Like,
no
it would help to
response.
let him know.
And then she's like, you should tell him. And then all caps, tell him. And so then I'm sitting there just like dying
This is
after
great.
doing this crazy shot.
Yeah.
And then Ross comes over. Like,
Oh, this is on that
This
day.
is-
You're
this is
saying.
on that day.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
this is like, as
So in
we're
other words,
doing
they
this,
saw the shot. They texted.
they texted Lee saying like, oh, okay, like he's good. Like,
Yeah.
whatever. And,
That's someone who knows the person, though. To go,
Yeah.
you clearly. I know you didn't tell him, so go
he's
and
like, tell him, all caps.
let him off.
And so I'm seeing this screenshot, like, okay, like, well, thank God, like, at least they're not going to say anything, but at least, like,
Yeah.
they like the shot.
Yeah.
And then Ross kind of walks over. He's like looking down, and he's like coming closer. And he walks away. And I'm just like kind of giving him his space, and
Yeah,
he kind of looks at me briefly. He's like, "Good job," and then he walks away.
which is high praise.
And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my God! Like,
Wow.
I'm not fired."
That's so great. Oh, that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, and so then that kind of started a relationship with the brothers.
Yeah.
that,
Well, then they trust you now. So
Yeah,
it's suddenly like,
yeah.
I mean, not that you can't blow that, but at least you're like,
It was
you're
a tough
past the
shot.
hurdle.
Yeah,
But I think that's great to hear, because it's for people, because look, you're an established operator already. You've worked with, Knight, and you've done these 3 Fear Streets and whatever, but you're still, there's always levels, right? And
Yeah,
there's something for
totally,
everybody, you know?
totally. Yeah,
And part of that obviously was who they were and what that show was. But like you said, part of that was always the shot. And there's always shots that come up that you're like, I don't know if I can pull this off. I
yeah.
mean, you know, hopefully they're less and less. So when you're doing something like that, from what you sound, how much of your dancing background comes back into that? Or
Um,
is it just second nature?
it for something like that, I just kind of do it.
Yeah.
I mean, as anyone would just kind of walk, but
Yep.
I walk in a way that has some sort of ballet steps
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah.
I don't turn sharply. I try to like three step and through a while bending my knees to just kind of make sure that I'm not moving the camera in a way that it shouldn't be.
Sure.
So I just kind of move with that ballet background.
A while ago, you started to do a breakdown on a Stranger Things shots that I unfortunately had to interrupt because I think, I don't remember, but I think my dog might have eaten rat poison. There was some reason why I had
Oh
to
my
cut it
God.
off. The
Yeah.
dog's fine. Actually, no, the dog, yeah, the dog's fine. But anyway, I want to redo it with you because it was really interesting because it was this huge action sequence. And you were talking about specifically how you were basically dancing and
Yeah.
doing steps with the camera in order to remember the positions. And I thought that was fascinating. So that will be coming up shortly. Can you talk about working with the cast at all? Because you're coming into, I mean, that's a huge group of people.
Yeah.
And well, some of them had careers beforehand and some of them were nobody and now they're huge and whatever. I
Totally.
mean, and you're walking into the middle of that. It's not like it's different when you start out with a group like that and you're with them the whole way. Um, but I'm just wondering if you could just talk about how that relationship is.
Yeah, I mean, walking into a cast of an established show and it's a big show, biggest thing I had worked on at that point. Um, and meeting the actors. Every actor is a little different. Every actor approaches camera direction differently. And Stranger Things is so technical and so involved with the camera that it's inevitable that you're going to have to uh, have really in-depth conversations with these actors about like technical
Hmm.
blocking and whatnot. Um, and so stepping into it in season 4, uh, you just have to kind of approach it with a blank slate so that you can learn everybody's personality.
Yeah.
So I kind of hung back a little bit.
You just listen more than you. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I would give notes and advice, or and see if it's warranted, see if it's taken, seeing um, but I'll remember I had grown confident of my position, and I had walked up to Matthew Modine, who was Papa in the show,
Yeah.
and I said, "Hey, Matt, if you're able to do this, we're gonna be able to stop here with you, and then maybe you banana over that way. That'll really help us out because we're just gonna turn around and in a close up
Hmm.
or whatever it was."
Yeah.
And in front of the crew, he said, "Are you asking or are you telling me?"
Well, that's always the best.
And you could hear a pin drop, and like I swear there's sweat beating down my forehead, and I'm like,
Oh
"Oh,
God.
what did I do?"
Uh-huh,
Like,
uh-huh.
and then he's like, "I'm just messing with you." And I was,
And there is that probably there was that moment of like, is he screwing with me or am I in trouble? And did I
well,
overstep or should
I
God.
realized, like, okay, Matthew's not one of those people that he wants to like be told what to
Mhm.
do,
Yeah.
but instead you should suggest things.
Yes.
And so, every actor is so different. Like I said, some actors are like, "Where do you want me to be? Just
Yeah.
tell me.
Mhm.
What do you want?
Yep.
What's gonna help this?"
How are we going to
And
get out of here quicker?
yeah. And so some actors were like that, some actors were not like that.
Yep.
And Matthew was one of those actors where the idea has to generate from him, so you have to but you have to work together, so you have to almost
Yeah.
suggest the idea or suggest that there's a problem, and then he can come up with the idea that is going to be the answer the whole time, but you can't tell him.
It's funny because everything it's like yeah, I'm having PTSD listening to this because
Yeah.
it is that thing of like some people you can go, I need you to walk over to there because that's what they want to hear, and
Yeah.
then some people is like, is there a way that it would work for you to whatever? And then
Oh my
some people you
God.
have to go, so I'm having a problem here with this, and I'm
Yeah.
wondering, do you have any thought?
Yeah. it's so funny to me because after season 4, Stranger Things, we did a Josh Brolin movie, and so with Matthew, I had to suggest things like, hey, like, you know, if it'd be really great if you could do this, if you could hang around here, maybe Banana, if if you could, that'd be great. It
Yep.
would really help us out. So then I went to Josh Brolin day one on whatever project we were working on, and I approached it the same way because
Hmm.
I'm like, hey man, like if you could do this, that'd be really great. What, you want me to hit my mark? You want me to stand in front of this window where the light's hitting my
And
face?
meanwhile, you're like, yes.
And he's like, just tell me where to go,
Just
dude.
tell me
He's
what
like,
to
why do camera operators and DPs have to be so passive? And Peter Dinklage is next to them. So he's like, and then Peter's like, yeah, they're also passive. Like, just say what you want.
Great.
And I'm like, okay, this is going to
This
be,
is going to be
this is going to
great.
be great.
And you know what? There's a part of me that wants to turn back to them and go, the reason that we're so passive is because not all people are as cool as you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we can get screwed if we do the other way. But yeah, but I can see how someone who works that way would totally not understand why you wouldn't just go, I need you to stand over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the best,
Yeah.
you know?
So I had to learn the
Yeah.
cast and how they all wanted to work. Millie was super technical and like
Hmm.
willing to help camera in any possible way
Yep.
to get out.
Yeah.
You know, let's do a series. That was always her thing. Let's
Oh
do a
yeah.
series. As you know, I'm
Yep,
sure
as I
she.
know. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. As a matter of fact, the first time I worked with her, the AD came over to me and she's like, so just so you know, Millie's going to come out. She gave me a couple of little things. She goes, and also, by the way, just be ready for it. She's going to say, hey, can we just do this as a series?
yeah. Yeah.
And sure enough, it was like the third thing out of her mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I mean, and it's that's what, for whatever reason, that's how she wants to do it.
Yeah.
It's like whatever. I mean, I always view our job is to do whatever they need us to do, barring safety or something else,
Totally.
or wasting time because we have to fix something, obviously, and that's just what you do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so you did and actually, by the way, you've shown me some of the stuff you did on season 5, which I can't wait for people to see because it's just amazing work. I just
Thank
have
you.
to say that. Yeah, and it was very cool to be on even just second unit because reality was it wasn't quite second unit. It was like
No.
for like minor first unit. But it was cool to be involved in something like that. You worked on a movie called Fall.
Oh my God.
But I just have to ask about, can you just explain what the movie is? Because I never saw it,
Yeah.
but it's got to be interesting.
Fall was the first project out of COVID that I worked on with some really great people. Nick Kramer was my first, who's now an operator doing
Mhm.
Steadicam Trinity work. McGregor was the DP who does some incredible car work. If you're interested in that,
Mhm.
he's a huge car nut, and his work is amazing. But yeah, so that was the first movie back, and it was this tiny indie budget movie that we were working on, telling a story of these two women stuck on a radio tower. They're climbing the radio tower and they get stuck, and
And the radio tower is like 500 feet in the air or something. This
I
is
think
like
it's I think it's like over 1,000
over a
feet.
thousand. Okay, so it's
Yeah,
it's like
it's
yeah,
it's way up
yeah,
there.
yeah.
And so that was an interesting project to work on. Uh, we had created this like other subset that was on this peak of a mountain that had a 360 view of a valley. And so the actors were maybe 5, 6 feet up, but it looked like they were 1,000 feet. And we
Hmm.
were able to do
Hmm.
that practically, which is really cool. And
Yeah.
then the rest of the movie, they actually were on this, it's probably like a 40, 50 foot high tower with stump lines and harnesses. They were doing all the climbing themselves, and we were on.
Oh, so
Uh,
this wasn't a ton of green screen?
there was lots of green screen on the ground,
Oh, but
so we would shoot the actors on the tower.
mhm.
We didn't have a whole lot of money, so if we weren't on a crane, we were on condors, and
Okay.
most of it was condors and sliders.
Oh, really? Wow.
So and it got to the point where it's like, we're on condors for, you know 8 out of 12 hours
Ugh,
every day
wow.
on this peak. So, then they're just letting us use the condors
Sure. Yeah.
at that point,
Yeah.
to find the right angles. But yeah, so there were shots, where they'd be climbing and then they'd fall,
Hmm.
they'd fall 20 feet, and then the rope would catch them, and you tilt down, and then the floor would be blue screen.
Gotcha.
The
Okay.
ground was
Yeah.
blue
Yeah.
screen, but we shot practically outside.
Really? Oh, I
Uh,
assumed most of it was stage work. So,
there
okay.
was
That's cool.
no stage work.
Really?
No
Oh,
stage
wow.
work. Uh, every day we were like, this could have been LED wall.
That's
This
what I
this could have
assumed. I
been this
just
could have
assumed.
been blue screen, but everything was practical
Wow. So
except
I
for
assumed literally there was nothing outside and it was all stage work. That's why I was asking. But
yeah.
oh, interesting.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
only visual effects was when you would tilt down at the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's wild. Okay.
Yeah.
Was it a fun I mean, is it fun to do so? Or does it get
Yeah,
boring
well,
after a while?
we shot in like Victorville,
Uh-huh.
somewhere out there in the desert,
Yep.
and it was like a small indie movie, and it was the first COVID project that I had worked on. Old was right after that.
Yep.
Um, and it was so much fun because it had that indie vibe. The whole crew was at the hotel.
That's fun.
Nick Kramer has his Panabar, you know.
Do you want to tell people what the Panavar is?
Yeah, if you don't know what a Panabar is, it's basically like it's a Panavision case that is a bar.
Yeah.
And
It literally like what does it swing open from the front and there are
yeah,
drawers, I
it's
think, or
like,
something?
I don't know if it's trifold, but it
Yeah.
like swings open. It has drawers, it
Yeah.
has lights,
It's
and
it looks like a case you would find on the camera truck, and they used to make these for select people and give them out. And it opens up, and it's a full traveling bar.
yeah, yeah.
There was another one they did that
It'd be
was a cappuccino
Panabar.
machine. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It'd be Panabar. There's like some serial code, so that you can have it on the invoice, and nobody knows what it is. But
I didn't know that. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah. So it's
That's
not so
fantastic.
much anymore,
No,
but
but yeah.
before, when people were drinking on camera
Oh yeah,
trucks,
yeah,
that
yeah.
was very much a thing. So this had a very indie vibe. We'd take the Panabar out at the pool of the motel that we were staying out in the middle
That's
of the
great.
desert, and we'd all
Yeah,
drink after work, and it was a total, like, throwback to indie movies, and it was
yeah.
so much fun to work
Oh,
on
that's a
because the
blast.
studio is not there, and there's no pressure from
You're
them,
just
and
on your own.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was
Oh,
awesome.
that's great. That's great. So I want to ask you just a couple of specific operating, or not operating specifically questions. Working with the AD.
Yes,
You just talk about working with the AD as an A camera operator.
sure. Well, uh, the AD obviously runs the set, and there's a partnership between the A operator and the AD, and you have to make a lot of calls as an operator that can influence the day, and so, regardless of what tool you pick, sometimes you have to pick and choose your battles. Is this going to be faster on dance floor on a regular head, or should we go to crane?
Hmm.
And sometimes you need to run those things by the first AD. If you start going on a crane without letting him know, he or she, they might get upset with you, or they might say, hey, we don't have time for this, like,
Hmm.
or how long is this going to take? Or so sometimes it's a good idea to get the AD involved in those decisions and say, hey, you know, there's two sides to this. We would all like to use this tool because of A, B, C, but I know that you're probably going to disagree with that. I want you to be on board with that decision. Are you willing to come on board with that decision?
Hmm.
And it's either a yes or a no, or let's see if we could find another way to do this. And
Yeah.
so, sometimes if you feel that that tool that's going to take a little bit longer to set up is the right tool, then you kind of have to work with them and convince them. And a lot of the times it's, you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Yeah.
So if you're able to help them, uh, prior or with other things, and save time, shave off whatever you can off the day, and it's like, hey, like, I really need this one, and then they're willing to work with you on that one.
Yep. Yep.
So, um, that's one area where, sometimes I'll get the AD involved, and I'll just say, hey, like, I need your brain for a second. Are you able to pull away from what you're doing and we could just talk about this thing that's going to impact our day, and so that we can be on the same page.
That's great. I mean, I like how you put that, because basically what that shows them right away is like, oh, this is someone who actually is thinking about my problem
Yeah.
as well as their problem, and
Yeah.
that's an asset right there.
Yeah. Ultimately, the schedule costs money, and everything's so expensive. So, if you're going to make a decision that's going to save or add 20 minutes, and then you break that down to the dollar amount,
Yeah.
you need to work with everyone involved. And so the AD is a good person to reach out to for that. So that's one way.
Was that an eye opener on Fear Street?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, did you not realize how involved that was at that point? When you got there, I should say.
I had already been doing that before
Oh,
Fear
okay.
Street.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until Fear Street where I had been working on something that where the budget was
That's why I
big,
asked. Yeah. Yeah.
where the AD would snap at me, or come at me with a snarky like, "Hey, I thought we were doing this. What's going on here?"
Yep.
And it's like, okay, how do we avoid this? How do we learn from this? All right, let's get them involved next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you learn from those mistakes.
Yep. Yeah.
So and Doug Torres was our first AD on Fear Street, who's an incredible first AD, one of the best first ADs I've ever worked with. And he's so freaking smart, and he's doing everything at once. Have you worked with Doug?
His name sounds really familiar, but it was funny when you said that. I was going to say I have a love-hate relationship with working with great first ADs.
Yeah.
Because obviously you love it for the reasons that you love it.
Sure.
And you sort of hate it because not everybody's like that. And then when you get on something when they're not, you're like, oh, you seriously?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
how could you not have seen this coming? And
Yeah.
so you sort of have to jump out ahead of it a little bit. But no, his name sounds familiar, and I want to say I have, but anyway, but that's great. It's the best thing in the world when you work with a top-notch first AD who obviously knows their job really well, but also knows everybody else's job, and understands what you're up against.
Yeah.
That's
so Doug was one of those firsts that would kind of bring me in and be like, listen, like,
the best.
and then I would learn from that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and he was totally cool with it.
Yeah.
And there was no egos involved. And that's another thing that is so important, is to just throw your ego out the window.
100%.
Like, I think there's a certain part in every operator's career, at least in mine, where you gain a certain level of confidence, and you're like, I feel that I'm correct about this. I feel that I'm right about this, or this is the way that I'd like to do this. And then you evolve past that, and you're like, it doesn't matter who's right as long as we are right.
Yeah, as long as we're doing good work in the
Yeah.
time allotted, and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, there's and I think that is that point where you're like, you don't have anything to prove anymore, and you're just like, no. And I think it also it's a larger awareness, right, of going, if it was only me, this is absolutely the right way to do this.
Yeah.
But there are other factors that I have to
Totally.
take into. So I still think it is, but I can understand why we're going to do it this way.
Yeah.
And I think everything during the day is a trade-off, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they've got the time and this and that and the other. So
Another thing that I like to do with ADs is, if there's a complicated sequence, and say we're daylight dependent,
yeah,
it's like, obviously every minute is crucial. And so getting together with them and understanding, okay, what's the day going to look like? If they don't tell you at the safety meeting exactly what's going to happen throughout the day, you can pull them aside and be like, hey, do you have a second? I just want to walk through what our day is going to look like. Saying, okay, you have 2 hours allotted for this scene, an hour for that, and 30 minutes for the turnaround, or whatever, the reverse wide, and then we have to pack up and go, or whatever it is. And writing that down so that I can try to push when I need to push.
Yep.
And then you're aware. It's like, you always have to pick and choose your battles. So if you need to fight for something that's going to take a little bit longer, you look at that schedule and you're like, okay, yeah, we really don't have time. Let's just do the quick and easy way. Let's get out of here.
Or to the opposite, you can go to them and go, hey, can we steal 20 minutes from this thing later? Do you think we can shave 20 off so I can do it now? But I on big days, I'll do what you're talking about. On smaller days, I'll generally, at the beginning of the scene, after we've rehearsed, I'll quietly go over and go, how long do you have allotted for this?
Yeah.
So that I can keep an eye on it, and I can go to them and go, I just want to let you know another shot just got added. did you know about this? You know,
Yeah.
and I think that most of them appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hopefully they appreciate it if they're not.
And then another thing that we'll do on the bigger days is after that general talk about what they're hoping for out of the schedule. Once you're in it and you're in the heat of the moment, checking in with them, obviously when they're not busy, finding that moment when you can be like, hey, what are the next 3 setups?
Yep.
And then you can think, okay, let's not use the crane for this. Let's move the crane over there. Let's put B camera on a slider on the B dolly, ready to go
So that we
for
can
the
take
next
the
shot,
time
so
to
that
do
you're
this.
able to like
Yeah.
leapfrog, save some time, and work together.
And they will see that in 2 seconds and go, this is an ally,
Yeah.
which then helps you down the line.
Yeah,
No,
because ultimately, like, A operating, you're not just panning and tilting. You're not. It's like you have to look at the big picture
Yep.
of production, and you have to help production and save them money, save them time, and that's one way to do it
Yeah.
is to help looking forward at future setups, so that then when the executive producer shows up on set and he sees the sun, he or she sees that the sun's going down, and they're like, "What are we doing here? Like, what's the plan?"
Yep.
Oh, well, we've got B camera leapfrogged on the slider for this next shot. The crane's already moving over there. So as soon as we're done with this, we'll go to B camera. A camera's going to be balancing on the crane, and then we're going to get out of here in the next hour.
Yep.
And you have a plan already in place so that when questions are asked, you have an answer.
You got the answer. And this is exactly why you can literally sit on an Apple box and operate all day long, and you still will be exhausted at the end of the day and wonder why.
Yeah.
Because your mind never stops.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of the most amazing things.
Yeah.
It's all part of it. And it's funny you were saying about saving money and making the day and all that, all of which is true. But I actually look at it more selfishly, which is like, I just don't want to be shortchanged for the time that we need to pull the shot off correctly.
Sure.
And then suddenly everybody's upset going, well, why didn't we get that? And it's like, you can't say because we didn't have enough time, because invariably you should have been ahead of it to make sure that you had the time. And
Yeah.
sometimes things happen.
Yeah.
Working with the AC, just what's your relationship like with the AC, and how do you?
I mean, every first is different.
Yeah.
I assume you're talking about first.
Yeah, first AC. Sorry. Yeah.
I like to give first ACs marks on everything,
Yeah.
and that's just like how I
You mean as far
grew
as
up.
giving them rehearsals, or
Well, giving them rehearsals and marks.
Yeah.
I'll say, okay, they're gonna walk up. Here's that mark.
Gotcha.
You
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
Here's
Walking
here's
through the
here's the
beats.
close mark.
Yep.
Okay, they're gonna lean in. There's the lean in,
Mhm.
and then we'll have the stand in, lean in, hold that lean in.
Yep.
Let me know when you're good.
Yep.
And everything's through headsets now, so we'll just wait until they get the mark.
Yep.
Okay, got that. Okay, great. Now they're gonna sit back down over there. Okay, there's that mark. Okay,
Yep.
and
Yep.
then we're gonna pan over here, and
Yeah.
and that's that.
Mhm.
So most first ACs, I think, appreciate that. Every once in a while, you'll get a focus puller that's just like, that just,
Need that,
yeah,
just-
just like surprise me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
know?
but there are people who like, yeah, that's the way they pull
Yeah,
focus, and
yeah,
I can't understand it because I could never do it. But if it works, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like to give them the marks because it helps everybody.
Yeah.
It helps the DP who's at the tent looking at the monitors see, oh shit, they're gonna lean in. There's that shadow from that
Yeah.
that foreground element.
Or there's always that. My favorite is like, hey, they're not going to lean in that much, are they? And then
Yeah.
you're like, no. I guess it's
Yeah.
not.
Totally. That's one of those political things
Yeah,
that you can do to
100%. Yep.
answer something with a
Yeah,
question.
that's when you lean back to Ralph and you're like, pull the dolly back just a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so it helps the DP when he's lighting, gaffer obviously with that. It helps the dolly grip understand, okay, this mark is good for this, but it's not good for that.
Mhm.
And everybody can benefit from walking through, and then you do a rehearsal by the numbers, and then you do a hopefully, and
Nowadays.
and, yeah,
Let's
but
just shoot the rehearsal.
yeah,
Whatever. That's
so,
another story.
but I think it's important, especially if it's like a tricky thing,
Yeah.
like a walk up on a long lens, or if you're wide open, or if it's night work. It's like you want to be able to give your focus puller a fighting chance.
Yep.
You got to work together. If not, it's not going to be pretty. You're gonna, they're not going to be happy with
Yeah.
you, and so
It's also why I'm starting a show in March, and I just called up the AD and said, "Hey, we have two female leads," and I said, "I have two stand-ins. I'd love to throw you names for," and their names and she said, "Oh, I've never had an operator like call up and suggest stand-ins," and I
yeah,
said, "You know what? As far as I'm concerned, they might be the most important people on the set to me,
absolutely,
assuming that they're good.
yeah.
If they're not good, then because it can make all the difference in the world. And
Oh my
my
God,
favorite stand-ins are the people who are with bigger actors who are with them all the time,
yeah,
and they'll come in and they'll go, I'm going to show you what she did, which was picking up the phone and then sitting down. But I just have a hunch she's going to sit down and pick up the phone. So let me show you both. And I'm like,
yeah, yeah,
it's the best
totally.
thing in the world,
It
right?
is. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Um, on Agatha, I don't know if you watched it or
No, I haven't.
but if you get a chance, you should
Yeah.
check it out.
What's it on? Do you know?
It's on Disney Plus.
Okay.
Agatha all along.
All along. All right.
There's a Marvel streaming show that we did,
Yeah.
but there's episodes where there's a minimum of 6 characters in every scene,
Jeez.
and everything is always moving, and so they're never just like standing still. They're
Yeah.
they're sitting down, they're standing up, they're walking around the room, and every scene has 6 people in it.
Wow.
Because it's a journey. They're traveling from one place, from point A to point B. And so our stand-ins on that show, um, we had, I don't know if you've noticed, or if you've had this experience, but sometimes you'll get a stand-in that's like the leader.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like the most experienced
Yeah.
one, and they'll help all the others.
Yeah.
And so we had that on this show, and then all the others started learning, and they were really passionate about
That's
learning and
that's
and
great.
being there and learning. And so, every scene might have, 6, 7 marks per person, and there's 6 people.
Oh,
And as an operator, when you go in and you're looking at the blocking rehearsals, you're trying to memorize everything and you're trying to visualize everything. But when there's 6 people that have 6 different marks, you can't quite remember, when the fourth person goes to the third mark, on what
exactly right.
line was that?
No, exactly.
And
Yeah.
so what I would do, I would start recording on my phone
Hmm.
those rehearsals
Yeah.
when it's a big blocking scene, so you could reference it,
That's great.
and then get together with the stand-ins and show them the video, so then they can say, okay, yeah, this is what happens.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so on Agatha, the stand-ins were amazing because they would pay attention, they would know all the marks, and then they would also, like you said, they would know the actors. Be like, well,
It's invaluable.
like I might place somebody here because it looks good compositionally,
Hmm.
but it's really uncomfortable for that actor because of their back
Yeah.
to be close to this thing or to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
leaning
Yeah.
on this. And
Yeah.
like, I don't think that they would do that. Normally they would do this. Be like, you know what? You're totally right. And thank you for keeping us accountable.
Yeah. Or
And
the other thing that actually happens a lot is like invariably you go in and you start tweaking, of course, everything to make things work, and you move the chair and you move the back and you
yeah,
move this, and then the actor's like, or the stand is, I just want to let you know, I can't sit into this chair anymore. Like
yeah,
it doesn't pull back on it. And what you're going, oh, duh, I can't believe we
yeah,
didn't think about that. But that's one thing that I can say to younger operators or established operators is you let the stand-ins know how important they are to you. You learn their name.
yeah,
You treat them like people. Like if you happen to be going off to craft service, which you probably should never do anyway, but ask them if they want anything. It
yeah,
goes a tremendous long way because I think they sort of feel like they're the low people on the totem pole, which on some level they are, but they're actually unbelievably important.
they
And I
are.
think if you imbue that importance in them, they actually then, like on this show, they realize how important they are, and then they want to do that much better. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. You want to encourage them
yeah.
because, stand-ins can be afraid.
It's also a tough job. It's not, I mean, I couldn't do it. I
No.
wouldn't be able to stand 2 inches away from someone for 20 minutes while
Yeah.
all these people.
Yeah.
So, I think that we all think it's just like, no, you're just standing there. And nope, that's much more to it than that. There's
Totally.
no question. Yeah.
Totally.
Well, Nick, this was really great. I thank you for all this. It's incredible. I mean, like you're a fantastic operator, and also you have so much to give, which is I appreciate it. So thank you. I'm going to leave you with the final question I leave everybody with, which is advice for someone getting into the business today on how to succeed, or what you wish you knew back then that you now know.
If you want to be an operator, um, and you're not working currently, or or maybe if you're an operator and you're lacking inspiration, like photography is truly one of those things that can help to ignite that eye for composition. And if you don't have a camera, you were saying earlier, you can use an iPhone. But being precious with those moments that you capture so that you're not taking way too many photos, but understanding like, okay, this is my intent, and going out with the camera and taking those photos. I would sometimes give myself guidelines, and I would put myself on a timer. If I got off of a project and I was not inspired to compose, I would set my camera to black and white, and I would, for 2 hours, go on a skateboard or on a bicycle throughout town and find moments, and I'd have to shoot on a prime lens. So if I want to be closer, I have to walk. If I want to be wide, I have to put the camera where it needs to be. Um, and so going out with a 50 on one day and then going out with a 28 on the next day. Um, and I will say black and white is something that's helped me because I'm not a DP, and so light is something that I is secondary to me. I think of composition first, and then I think naturally of light second. But when you shoot in black and white, composition can be very boring if the lighting is not good. And so if you go and you shoot black and white, or put your iPhone on black and white filter, and pay attention to the light and how the light can enhance a composition or make it boring. And notice how it can be flat or how it can add depth to it. I think the DPs that we work with can appreciate that, where you can place an actor in light that will create depth, and it'll just help enhance your eye for light. Another thing that you can do is to watch movies and really study them and really pay attention to them. What I would do is I would watch a movie, I'd watch the credits, and then I would look up that operator, and then I would watch a series of movies that this operator had worked on. And then I would move on to another operator, and I would watch movies that they operated, and I would see little nuances in their operating or in their Steadicam operating. And and um and if you do this enough, you're able to pinpoint who this operator is without even looking at the crew list. Um, so if you have an operator that you look up to, check out their work. Scott Sakamoto is to me one of my heroes, and he's one of those people whose IMDb list I kind of watched every movie, and he has one of those gifts where you're watching a movie that he's operating on, and the operating disappears, and that is one of the greatest gifts. And no matter how many movies I watch that he works on, I can't really watch his operating because the story takes over, and that's such a gift. And so if you have an operator that you look up to, check out their work, watch a bunch of it in a row, and then move on to another operator and watch their work. And you could do the same with DPs, you could do the same with directors, but if you want to be an operator, I think you could learn a lot from watching an operator's work in a collection and see how they evolve over time.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We'll be back soon with another great episode. Don't forget to check us out on theop.io for all sorts of information on operating and storytelling. So thanks for listening, and have a great day.